Military footage unveiled by a Ukrainian brigade claims to depict Kyiv's forces thwarting a formidable onslaught referred to as a carnage tempest, initiated by Russia in eastern Ukraine. The recording, disseminated on Monday by the 58th Motorized Brigade, a unit of the Ukrainian Ground Forces, reported that Russia launched its offensive at daybreak but hastily retreated in ignominy within a brief span. The brigade has been actively engaged in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine since the commencement of Russia's comprehensive invasion in February 2022. Escalating skirmishes near the town of Avdiivka, characterized as the entrance to the city of Donetsk, have been observed. Since October 10th, Russia has deployed a substantial number of troops, along with tanks and armored vehicles, in a bid to capture the town. Moscow's military has reportedly sustained significant casualties in terms of both personnel and equipment. It is reported that Russia has amassed approximately 40,000 troops, gearing up for a renewed assault on the town. Not everyone managed to escape. There were about 50 bodies of invaders left on the battlefield, revealed the 58th Motorized Brigade. In eliminating the occupiers, the brigade achieved the greatest success, it added. Aerial footage, captured by a drone and accompanied by intense music, seemingly illustrates Ukrainian forces engaging multiple Russian tanks and armored vehicles, leaving trails of smoke in their wake. A poignant moment in the footage displays the charred remnants of a vehicle, with a soldier engulfed in flames desperately crawling away from the scene. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has characterized the situation surrounding Avdiivka as particularly challenging. Anton Kotsukon, spokesperson for the 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade, conveyed on November 9th that Russia was amassing reserves for a renewed attempt to capture Avdiivka. They've brought in about 40,000 men here, along with ammunition, Kotsukon reported. We see no indication of the Russians abandoning plans to encircle Avdiivka. Kotsukon stated that Russian forces have enveloped Avdiivka on 3 sides, engaging in strategic maneuvers and deploying a substantial number of drones to scrutinize Kyiv's defenses. The Institute for the Study of War, a US-based think tank, has reported an escalation in the commitment of Russian forces, both in terms of manpower and material, to strategic and larger-scale offensive operations in the vicinity of Avdiivka. In its latest update on the conflict released on Sunday, the think tank noted that Russian forces had persisted in their offensive actions around Avdiivka, but had not achieved any confirmed gains. Simultaneously, the Ukrainian General Staff disclosed that Ukrainian forces successfully repelled more than 18 Russian assaults in the Avdiivka region. Furthermore, the think tank highlighted that Ukrainian forces executed recent effective counterattacks near Avdiivka, resulting in modest territorial gains. While numerous analysts and Western politicians label the conflict in Ukraine as a stalemate and advocate for Ukrainian negotiations with the same Russians accused of abducting Ukrainian children and attacking Ukrainian cities, the Ukrainian Marine Corps has taken an offensive stance. 3 weeks ago, the Marines successfully traversed the expansive Dnipro River in southern Ukraine's Kherson Oblast, establishing a bridgehead in the settlement of Krinky on the Russian-dominated left bank. From Krinky, the Marines have pressed southward, extending Kyiv's 5-month-old counteroffensive and challenging international observers inclined to appease Russian leader Vladimir Putin's regime. Predicting the next developments remains uncertain. However, the events leading up to the successful Krinky crossing are gradually becoming clearer. The Ukrainian military strategically employed electronic and logistical measures to isolate Russian forces in Kherson, repositioning their elite forces for a riverine assault and executing attacks along multiple axes under the cover of audacious helicopter crews. The Krinky operation had its roots in the summer, commencing months before the initial Ukrainian marine crossing of the Dnipro. Reports, as early as June, indicated the positioning of potent radio jammers on the Dnipro's right bank, creating a 12-mile deep zone where Russia's explosive first-person view drones faced operational challenges, while Ukrainian drones could operate freely. Trent Telenko, a former quality auditor with the U.S. Defense Contract Management Agency specializing in electronic warfare, highlighted Ukraine's deployment of robust river-mobile drone jammers and the use of slightly larger FPV drones with different radio frequencies not covered by the jammers. Concurrently, Ukrainian drones and manned warplanes actively targeted Russian jammers in southern Ukraine, impeding Russian efforts to hinder Ukrainian drone operations over the Dnipro. Evidence suggests precision strikes by Ukrainians on Russian jammers, including those mounted on trucks. This electronic counter-air campaign coincided with Ukrainian efforts to disrupt Russian supply lines entering southern Kherson Oblast through Melitopol and Tokmak. Advances by Ukrainian army and air assault forces during the summer towards Tokmak, in Zaporizhzhia Oblast, east of Kherson, brought Russian logistics well within the range of Ukrainians' extended weaponry. As the Ukrainians liberated more territory, the logistics corridor for Russian forces became increasingly narrow, raising concerns about supply difficulties, especially as winter approaches. The Ukrainian Marines' redeployment from Donetsk Oblast and their landing in and around Krinky from October 19th marked a crucial phase. Russian motor rifle regiments on the left bank faced the challenge of potential counterattacks, but were thwarted by drones. Each day without a successful Russian counterattack allowed the Ukrainians to ferry more forces across the river using small boats, amphibian vehicles, and possibly pontoon bridges. Crossing the river is susceptible to air attacks, but the Ukrainians quickly established air superiority over the Dnipro in Kherson Oblast. The deployment of Mi-24 attack helicopters for low-level rocket attacks was deemed dashing tactics by a Russian observer. Entering its second month, the Ukrainian counteroffensive in Kherson is expanding and accelerating. Recent reports indicate Ukrainian Marines crossing the river at two new locations west of Krinky Muma and Pidstepny. Despite the challenges posed by winter and mud, the Marines, predominantly advancing on foot in small assault teams, appear poised to sustain the counteroffensive. Ukrainian General Oleksandr Tarnavsky acknowledged potential obstacles posed by weather during an advance, but he expressed confidence that, given their mode of advance without heavy vehicle reliance, the counteroffensive's progress may not be significantly hindered.